Today is a good day. You know we live.
Yes.
All
All right.
right. Black Box Radio. No countdown today. We just going in.
Okay.
Black Box Radio. We are in the box. I'm telling you, Healing August is shaping up. It's beautiful. Yesterday we talked about good eating, vegan love. We talked about veggies, like because
Ooh.
food is energy and the electric part of food. So that's important is what we eat. So today, this is undo. Part two. Part two. So we are part two of accessing the ancestors, and we got our most qualified, the Queen Mama,
Oh no.
Iya Keturah in
Uh-oh.
the house with us. It's all love for her. She is she's spirit times 10, bringing it all to us. But I'm Queen. I am a host at Black Box Radio. We are a media platform illustrating Black excellence. Guess what, guys? I don't have my glasses on. Y'all know how that is. Ow!
There
we,
you go.
we are a media platform illustrating Black excellence. We platform Black people, we expose Black genius, and we disseminate information to the community, to the Black community, and to all communities. But more than anything, we humanize the African in America. And that needs to come from the African in America. So
Ashe.
so it's important for us to be able to talk about our story, be our story, and sometimes clean up our story. So it's us. So it's all about
Ashe.
us being intentional about being us and being
Ashe.
great in that and being powerful. Because you remember, guys, part one of this series was power. What are you being? Who are you being? And are you giving up your power? And are you being powerful? And especially in your spiritual relationship, because Iya said to us last week, guys, that it is not the practice. It's you. It's how you're being in the practice. How are you approaching the practice? Are you approaching the practice with power, or are you giving your power away? That's it. Am I right here?
That was a good summation. That was a good summation.
That's a
I
good
would say that
summation.
no matter what practice you choose,
Yes.
we as African people, especially African people born in the diaspora, have to stop bickering and arguing and fussing about what ideologies we have, what religious practices we choose to follow, our um what our spiritual notions are and identity, wherever we find our identity. We need to stop arguing about that. Who's original? How old is my tradition? Mine was first and all that madness.
Madness.
Because at the beginning and at the end of the day, the who you are being in your practice is what matters, because that is what is manifesting the who you are. Your spiritual practice is helping you manifest a you daily. And if you go into your practice as a slave with a slave mentality, the practice itself is not going to free you. You can just be a slave practicing whatever you practice with brand new language and real cute traditional clothes. What you want to do is do the introspective work so that you can offer this new path that you say that you're on. You can offer your new path, a new you with the new path, which is a you in your power. So instead of taking on any tradition when you're not in your power, you're going to take on any tradition you like, any practice you want in your power. That's going to make the major difference. Because if you decide that, for example, because Christianity was our big example last time, right?
Right.
You decide that based on your history as a Christian man or a Christian woman, that you don't want to do what the man told you to do, right? You don't want to be that. You know that slavery was brought to us. I mean, Christianity was brought to us through slavery, and we were manipulated and all those things, right? It was used to oppress us. So you want to abandon that. You want to, that's your deal. But the who you were trained to be does not just wash off when you convert into something else. You can repeat the same type of powerless patterns, slave-like mentality patterns in any tradition you choose. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, I'm a Yoruba priestess, right? But our spiritual houses are called Ilays. But I know many priests that run their Ilays like the Catholic Church. And you know why their Ilays are popping? Because people that leave the Catholic Church go over there and their story is they're doing something new, so they can't possibly be being oppressed and enslaved. But that's the mentality they went with, and so did the person that's leading them. So they've just changed the language, changed the scene, changed the doctrine, same dynamic, same behavior. So
Hey,
be in
listen,
your
guys.
power, bring your powerful self to any tradition, and now we ready. Now
We ready to go.
we
Listen,
kicking.
guys, that was the summation of last week. You heard Iya. She's coming. She jumped right in. It's not even about introducing us. It's about, listen, you know who I am. Let me give you this. Let me give you this tidbit right here. That, listen, if you're not living in your power, you can create anything else. You can move on to anything else, but you still gonna give it away. You got to do the introspective work and deal with that mentality and clean it up. So when you move on, or if you stay, because it's not the practice, it's you. It's you. So that's where we at. That's where we at.
So
So
let's move all of our distinctions aside and unify under the umbrella of what we all say we about, which is being free.
Free.
That's what we be talking.
You know my mantra, free in 23. That's where I'm at. Free in 23. So listen, you got the summation. And if you want to see that, that's on YouTube. You can go to our YouTube channel, BlakBoXX Radio, and you'll be able to pick that up. It's also posted on Facebook under BlakBoXX. You can actually look at the whole video. It was a slam dunk last Tuesday. Real talk. I learned some things, and I've really been able to, I was empowered by it. So yeah, I was absolutely empowered, and I know the community was, because a lot of times we don't understand how this umbrella of what we've been through is continuing to be the problem, and why we're not growing and why we're not moving forward. It's because we haven't settled that. You have to fix things. You have to, like, it's just like with grief. You got to deal with it. You have to close it out, and then you can move forward. But we have not dealt with this mentality of how we've been oriented, as you said, to this culture, and we've been oriented as slaves. So that mentality is that we know we're not slaves anymore. Yes, we're free to roam the country. Yeah, some places. Wait a minute, because you can't roam everywhere. Wait a minute. So yes, we're free to do. We think we're free. We can do
on paper,
things, on paper. We can do most things that most people can do. But when it's inside of your head, you're giving your power away because you've been taught that way.
You're recreating the same thing.
Yes, right. You're doing the same thing.
Because you just don't know anything else.
You just don't know it. So
there's no make wrong here. We're not making nobody wrong. We're just exposing what needs to change.
That's right. That's right. So
there's no make wrong, because if there was a make wrong, we'd be doing like this.
Yep.
Because we know we're talking about what we know, and we know it because we've lived it, right? Lived it or living it. So
absolutely about to live it. Well, some of us about to live it. So ouch. Wait a minute. So listen, today, so we told you about last week. Please check that out, because that's gonna make you really understand what we're talking about tonight. What we delving into tonight, yeah? Talk to us.
Well, now that we are committing to being in our power, we want to investigate, or we want to discuss one of the major tools that we have as African people to use our power to the fullest extent in all areas of our lives. Okay. And that is the spiritual resources that are available to us. major tool for people and Black people in their power is to feel confident and to feel and to be fearless about pursuing all of their power resources, which begins for us as spiritual resources. Now, let me tell you why I'm saying for us, it begins at spiritual resources. Okay. I want to qualify that statement because people say, well, I got money, I'm strong or whatever. And I'm not saying having financial resources and physical resources that's not, or talent resources. I'm not saying those aren't resources. What I am saying that chief among your resources are your spiritual resources. Why? I'm going to qualify that because you are spirit. Now, I have never in my life, and you can challenge me on this, met an African person from any place that did not own that they were a spiritual being.
What does that mean?
That we are spirit, that we are spiritual people, that we have spiritual power, that we have a distinction in the world as deeply spiritual, meaning able to access the unseen world people. Never met someone who was like, yeah, Black people aren't really that spiritual. No. And I'm saying that about us. No matter what we practice, we know that our ability to access spirit is first nature to us.
Okay.
If we don't recognize it as a particular gift that we have, we don't doubt that these gifts exist in other Black people because we've seen it. We've heard it. It's a part of our community fabric. It's a part of our...
Give me an example. That's a person say, well, what you talking about? We spirit. Meaning like we're spiritual or we're always practicing our spirituality.
Everything that we do, our music, our dance, our creativity, our religious practice, everything has a deep feeling, a deep energy, a deep move, a big impact on the room. Here's a great example. Church. Let's just use church as our example. If you've never heard of any other language, zero language about spirit, culture, African, whatever, if you just went to church, a Black church, just went to the Black church, and you experienced people singing, people crying, people dancing, people praising, people praying, dancing, singing, testifying, you experienced not just one person looking silly. You experienced the room being moved by a particular energy that all of you recognized as spirit.
Yeah.
Spirit moving in the room. That's a direct quote.
That is true.
Okay. So it's an
and you don't feel strange thing. And you don't look at like, what's wrong with these people?
Exactly.
It's something we inherently know that is a part of us.
Because we even use it in our language. Spirit moved me to say so-and-so. Spirit was moving in the church this morning. I feel the spirit moving. If you ever darken the doorstep of a Black church, you are not unfamiliar with the language that I'm speaking. Okay. Now, context may change, right? We're going to expand the context, but we're going to start with what we all have a reference for. Okay. So Black people in worship are not confused about them being spiritual. Spirit, about them being spirit, being moved by spirit, being subject to spirit, spirit moving them. It's a relationship, a very open relationship where exchanges are visible. You can feel them, you can see them, you can hear them. This is what it is. This is the quote Black experience in the Black church. Okay. Now, since we all recognize that we are spirit, and we all as human beings recognize that when we are alive, right, when we have life, our spirit is in this body, right? That's what animates the body, our spirit. Because without the spirit, body is just the shell. Hence, we make our transition. What's making the transition? The spirit of you is making transition from the body and transitioning out of the body to wherever it's going to go. We're not going to argue that point at the moment. But we know that making a transition,
because the body is lifeless. It is a whole.
It's past. You've passed. You know,
it's past. The person has passed.
Exactly. The body is now going to its final resting place.
Yes.
And the final ceremonies that we recognize for that person is to usher that person into their afterlife with song, dance, praise, strong words, love, family getting together. We don't think that we putting our loved ones in the ground. We don't think that. We don't think that. We know that the body's going in the ground. We clear on that. But we say, oh, my mom's going home. Her home not in the ground. You don't think your mama's home is 6 feet under?
Yeah.
No. You say homegoing service. Where the home? The home not in the dirt. Nobody. So we know that we're spirit. We know spirit animates the body. And we know without the body, we know that the without spirit, the body is just a shell, nothing. Mm-hmm. Okay. So with that premise, I'm arguing. Now I'm not arguing, but I'm asserting that all of the relationships, I mean all, not some, all of the relationships that you establish as a spiritual being inside this physical body are with other spiritual beings that are inside of bodies.
I hope you guys are listening, because
every relationship.
Point. That's a download. You know, we're back to the download here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't find that arguable.
No, it's not arguable, but you don't think of it like that.
I said we want to expand the context.
Yeah.
So, again, I say, no matter what relationship you have with anybody, you know, any person that you have a relationship with is a spiritual relationship before it's any other kind. It can be it can take on lots of forms. But it is a spiritual relationship nonetheless. Why? Because you are spirit in a body. They are spirit in a body. And without spirit, the bodies would not be
lifeless.
Exactly. Yeah. So all your relationships are spirit. Now, in all the relationships that you establish, y'all follow me so far? In all the relationships that you establish.
We had a download. Got it.
While we're in the body, I am asserting that when the spirit that you have a relationship with makes their transition out of their body, there is still a very strong opportunity for you to continue your relationship with that spirit. Now, the dynamic is going to change, of course, because you're now a spirit in the body and you want to continue your relationship with a spirit that no longer has a body. So the relationship dynamic, the physical dynamic, obviously, is going to change. But the spiritual relatedness, the love that people say never dies, the love that people say that you take with you when you leave the body, is still there. So we could argue about how we ain't dealing with that spiritual stuff. And I don't know about people talking to people that spirits and they don't got bodies. But I tell you what, this is what no one ever debates with me about. If your mother, yo African diaspora mama, your African diaspora grandma, your auntie, your granddaddy, grandma, big mama, who has been the matriarch of the family, supporter, loving, caring, take care, all of that, giving counsel, cooking, cleaning, doing hair, all of that. She's been doing all of that. Spending her lifetime in the church. And she makes her transition. Everybody come to pay their last respects to the body, to the union of spirit and body. They pay last respects to her. You gonna tell me if there's any way at all that Big Mama can influence, that can still assert her loving, kind, protective influence on you in this life? You don't think she's gonna take that opportunity? She's gonna take it. And I would say to that when people find challenges with the whole concept of talking to spirits, communicating with entities, I say, tell me somebody in your family that you love, that you missed, that supported you and all that. They'll say, and they usually say somebody that's an elder, right? My grandma, my auntie, my uncle, my somebody. I say, do you think that person, if there was any way that they could continue to love you, continue to support you, continue to protect you, do you think they would do it? They're like, absolutely. I know my grandmother. I know. So they don't argue that. So I'm saying, okay, this person this entity no longer has their body. But you telling me, oh, you got dreams about them, you feel a presence. Sometimes you feel like there's a sign that there's someplace around, or a blessing that you get. All of these things that you hear people talk about that have nothing to do with any other tradition, they're just being spirits with bodies, talking about their relationship with spirits that no longer have bodies. What's happening is that spirit is still making an effort to continue the relationship.
Wait a minute, download. It's download time.
Making an effort to continue the relationship.
Download, Iya, because this is where it, in our mindset and what we've been taught, because being acculturated in this society, when you die, it's final. That's why people tear the church up. They fall out because they're going to miss Big Mama, or they're going to miss their child. And that's understandable, because we understand that what we're saying is the dynamic will change. You won't be able to have this intimate relationship that you've had when they were in the body, as we put it.
Not physical intimacy. No, you can't run up and hug them and kiss them, and you can't
None
do
of that.
But that's done.
That's done.
So we grieve the loss of that.
We grieve. That's what we're really grieving, is the loss of the physicality of the relationship. But what Iya is asserting, as she said, guys, is that relationship, because since we're all spirits in a body, the spiritual relationship can still carry on. That is so pivotal. Because
and the thing is, people have so much evidence that this is true without me saying that.
Because a lot of times you be like, my dad gave me a sign, or yeah, I know he here trying to help me out, yeah, or something that
I just got a blessing. I just got a windfall of money. I got a surprise check. I felt a breeze when
or something you did with them, or yes, and it comes up again. You're like, how could that? I only did that with my dad. So
exactly,
those things happen.
Those things happen. Like, I'm not making that up.
Nah,
those things happen, right?
That happens.
But here's where we get tricky. People now, person like me that do all the things, all the spiritual things. I say, really? Are they doing all that? You feeling the blessings? You getting the signs. You smelling smells. You getting dreams. All of that. I say that sounds like to me that the person that you love is letting you know that they're trying to continue the relationship. Then I get the face like this.
Yeah, because it's hard to imagine from what you've been taught.
Right. But they know that that's happening because otherwise they wouldn't say that to me.
Absolutely.
But it's a jump.
It's absolutely. It's a
jump.
To know
so I'm
it
like, that sounds like, what do you think it sounds like?
Yeah. To know it, accept it, and practice it are two different things.
So that's how we go step by step. We go step by step.
You gotta go step by step.
So I'm saying if you've had that experience, all the serendipitous type of relation signs and stuff like that, events, serendipitous.
I know you're real smart, but you got to keep them words down. Serendipitous. We don't do 5 syllables on BlaKBoXX Radio. I'm gonna need you.
If you have those interesting things that make you go,
there you go.
Experiences.
Okay.
And you recognize, that felt like, I got a sign, because no one's gonna say that's crazy. You just make it up. Nobody gonna say that to you. If you just lost your mama, your auntie, your cousin, your daddy, your granddad, no one's gonna say that you crazy. They're gonna say, oh, they're probably around trying to protect you. They keep blessing you. People are gonna co-sign your implication.
Yep.
Right? They're gonna co-sign the implication. That's a blessing. Your mama looking out for you. Your daddy looking. That's what they're gonna say. So I'm just saying, by the way, both of y'all sound like you're recognizing that the person that passed out of their body is attempting to continue the relationship. Okay, so all right, they're like, okay, well, I know that the people usually are able to admit that they know that if their father or mother or any could do anything for them, they would do it, right?
Right.
Of course. Nobody questions that. Nobody questions if their loved one passes, that loved one is going to do everything they can in spirit to try to assist them. Nobody questions that because they got evidence. Now, what I'm saying is, if you hold those things true, the things that I mentioned thus far, if you're willing to hold those very common experiences true for you as an individual, I'm saying that there are real practices that will allow you to cultivate your relationship, continue to cultivate the relationship that you have with your loved ones even though they have exited the body. That's all I'm saying.
Download. Here we go. It's a download. Because I want folks to understand that, because people say, oh, they're talking this ghost, they're talking about ghost and they're talking about this witch stuff, this juju. But what we're talking about is that we're trying to make you understand that you already have a somewhat relationship with your ancestor anyway, because you're saying that you see things that's going on around you that remind you of that person.
You got a feeling.
You got feelings.
You got a dream.
Yeah, you having dreams. So, in other words, this is your ancestor wanting to have access to you still. And so the question is can you make yourself available and in a space where you can have a relationship that is going to be different? And it's going to be different because you're used to this physical relationship. It's going to be different, but it still will be a relationship that you can cultivate. So This is what we're saying. This is where healing comes in. Because if you can still have relationships with all of these loved ones that we're losing in our community, imagine that the loss is not something that debilitates. No. The loss is something that creates another relationship, an opportunity. Yes. All right, download. That's downloaded.
So, and this is the these are the steps that I assist people with. I guide people through when they come to me and they express that they are overwhelmed by the grief of by the grief that they are experiencing from the loss of a loved one, right? And this is children that they've lost, parents that they've lost. Sometimes the loss is tragic. Sometimes it's expected, but just a loss. All kinds of losses. People come to me to help them deal with their grief, and I say, given all of these things, your loved one is still letting you know that they're making themselves available to continue the relationship. They understand that you're going to grieve the shift in dynamic, right? Big shift in dynamic. But the reality is it's just a shift in the dynamic, but they're still for you. They're still here for you. You know that, you want to believe that, and there's no reason why you shouldn't, because you have evidence of it. You don't have to convince anybody of. When your loved one is doing something for you, a blessing, something come out of the way. It's not your imagination, and you know that. You feel that. So what would it be for you to say, you know what? Okay, they're making an effort to show me that they want a relationship. I'm willing to do my part to make this work, this new dynamic work. Because often this relationship is very one-sided, because people have been trained to be afraid and to dismiss their own spiritual nature. Because regardless of how you were trained, your nature as a spiritual being tells you that you can still have a relationship. Your relationship is not over. Tells you that. Your relationship is not over with your mother when she passes away. Your relationship is not over with your granddaddy when he passes away. No, nobody believes that. Nobody believes that their relationship is over. They grieve the loss of the person being, quote, gone, the body being gone, not to be able to interact the way that they used to. But we change and shift our relationship dynamics all the time. And you know what? We grieve the loss of shifts in dynamics all the time. This is just another one. I said all relationships were spiritual. Someone doesn't always leave your life because they leave their body. Sometimes they just leave. You have to know that there is a relationship that you have in spirit that no one can take away. And there is a relationship in the body where the dynamic can shift.
So let me ask a question. So you're saying that there's a way to have a relationship with your loved one that you've lost. There is a way. Absolutely. Now, most people say, well, can I talk to them? Can they talk to me? Can they give me things? When you say have a relationship, we're so used to the physical relationship where you're able to talk, feel, hug, deal, be in space with. What is this new relationship? What is it? Because
what is the experience of it?
Yeah, because you got to have, the intention is for you to be realistic as you do go through this.
Absolutely.
You cannot say, okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna have a relationship. I'm gonna invite them over. We're gonna have a drink, and you put 2 drinks up, and none of the drink leave. You like, well, where they at? You're still looking for the physical form of that relationship. So, what does this new relationship entail?
That is a perfect question. Great question. The new relationship dynamic is different for every spiritual relationship.
Whoa.
Some people experience when they cultivate this relationship, they feel a presence that's different, that makes them know that their loved one is near. it's a feeling thing, right?
Right.
Some people experience a hearing, a kind of clairaudience where you're not hearing a voice necessarily, but you're receiving information that you know it goes along with that person because it sounds the information the download of information seems like it came from that person, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, if you have that gift of clairvoyance, then you in fact see them. But that's a rare gift, right? Most people, in my experience, have a sentient type of experience where they have a sense that their loved one is near. Sometimes it is noticeable in terms of temperature, but most of the time it's just an energetic feeling. And it's interesting that you brought up the food piece because you put 2 drinks out, and I'm drinking a drink, and I'm trying to have a drink with you. The drink's not gone, but you just in the beginning talked about an amazing conversation with someone who said that food was energy, right?
Right.
So when you drink a drink, you're not just drinking a drink, you're taking in the energy of that drink. So when you put out, when you see young people on the corner celebrating their homie that passed away by whatever means, they getting all kinds of liquor, paying good money,
and they gonna pour it out.
They're gonna pour it right on out.
Yeah.
Now, why would young people spend their money, go to the liquor store, spend their good money, take a swig of some alcohol, and pour it in the street? Why would they do that? Because they're saying, I know my homie is here, and if he was here, he would be drinking Hennessy with us, period. Yeah. So everybody get a bottle of Hennessy. We're going to pour it out because we know that he's here, and now we're going to leave the bottles there. And that's exactly what they do. You see it all over the city.
Shrine. I've seen them.
So I don't have to assert that without community evidence that people really know that's the case, right? So we don't really require the alcohol to disappear because we know that the energy is being experienced by our loved one who we know is present. Otherwise, we wouldn't have spent that good money. So even without using that language, which is why we're just expanding the context, right? Because we're already doing the things. We're already experiencing the things. What I'm offering is the language to expand your ideas and the context of it so that when you get to being offered practices that will allow you to cultivate the relationship in a way that is meaningful for both parties, it won't seem like such a stretch. Can you dig that? Now, I have an example. A beautiful young woman was referred to me because she had several children that had passed. But the most recent child that had passed very tragically in the city of Baltimore. He was murdered by someone. Okay, this was an unsolved murder, but she was grieving so terribly. This was her oldest child. Grieving so terribly. Someone that knew me said, "Go see Iya Keturah. See what you could do about the situation." So when she came to me, she said she had lost 3 children. She had several, but she had lost 3 out of the several that she had. And I have to say that was pretty profound to me. I had never, not in my 25 years doing this work, had met or had to do work for a mother who had lost several children.
Multiple children. Wow.
Yeah. Because I knew that she was grieving profoundly. So I said, let me just say, first of all, that I'm sorry for your loss, right? Because it doesn't matter what you know, ultimately. You want to acknowledge what the current real life experience is that somebody is having at the stage of grief that they're in. Because the reality is she lost her babies, right? So I'm not going to pretend that ain't a thing. So I said, I am so sorry for your loss. And I'm not even going to pretend, and I just say this, I'm not even going to pretend that I know the depth of your grief. I'm not even going to pretend that. But what I do know, what I can offer you is a way to redirect that grief if you're willing. If you're willing. You don't have to be willing, because I understand the unwillingness in this situation. You have a right to be unwilling until you can get yourself together and recalibrate. But what I'm saying that I don't know the depth of the grief, but I know what you could do with it. It's a different thing. I know what you can do with it when you're ready, if you're interested in learning about what's available, because what is available is a continued relationship with your son. You're still his mother. So he still needs his mother. He still needs his mother, and he's available to still be in that relationship where you nurture and care for him, even though the physical dynamic has changed. Like, that's real. But this is not something you gotta jump into, but this is something that's available. So I just left it with her, and she said, no, she said, yes, I want to. I don't know anything about that, but I'm willing to try, because she was, in that situation.
Yeah, she was hurting.
Yes. So I said, okay, so what you want to do is create a place in your home, because that's his home, right? That's his home. You want to create a place for him that's appropriate for him to be with you and interact with you, that allows him to be in spirit. Like, I'm not saying leave the bedroom as it is, leave his clothes, leave the bed, leave the toys. No, I'm not saying that, because that's inappropriate for the relationship that you have now. He doesn't need the bed. He doesn't need the clothes. He doesn't need the shoes anymore. I'm saying make a different space, a space that makes sense for for the new dynamic, for you to interact with him, for you to engage with him. Okay. Because that's going to, that shift right there is going to help you make the shift that my son is here, but I can't tuck him in at night. I'm not going to dress him in the morning with his clothes. You know what I'm saying? So you do want to make physical changes in your home to meet the needs of the new dynamic. Okay?
Yes.
So this, some people would call a shrine or an altar or a sacred space or a space for spirit communication. So that's what I use, all those terms, right? So I said, we're going to create a space in your house, because that's his home, right? It didn't stop being his home. You didn't stop letting it be his home, and he didn't stop thinking of it as his home. So this is still his home. Make a new space where put pictures, things he liked, whatever. But a space where you can just commune with him as a spirit without his body. Let's do that. Set a place up for him, which is not hard. People do, like I said. We said people do that out in the street. Put out all drinking, smoking, and dice. I see dice on the street, all kinds of stuff, right? Playing cards. So she created a place that had his things and things that he liked and all of that. I said, okay. For right now, so for a little while, just allow yourself to get familiar with that. With a place that's obviously a space for you and him, him and the people in the house. That's a collection of his stuff right there. Just, meditate, let yourself feel the energy of him with his things there whenever he chooses to come. Sometimes you'll make note that he feels more heavy. Maybe you'll feel sad, or you'll grieve a little bit, or you'll feel that he's missing you, or feel like he's trying to hug you, or whatever your feelings are. But make a place that's different from just his room, right? Because now we're gonna shift the relationship dynamic so that you're not going in his room just crying. So she did that, and that was a really big step for her. But she actually said that made her feel better.
Okay.
She said, then I'm gonna come over there and I'm gonna do what I do as a priest, which is open up a line of communication with spirit. That's obviously something that I do, to communicate with spirits directly through divination, which is possible. But I said, I'm going to teach you how to do a simple version of that so that you can, communicate whether or not what you feel, hear, dream about, so that you can confirm that those messages are actually coming from your son. Okay? Because a lot of people have these beautiful experiences, and then because of the way we've been trained, we question it. No, that wasn't me. That was just, I'm just bugging, or I was just missing them, or whatever. But I'm saying, whenever you feel now, when that happens, you have a dream, you feel a feeling or whatever, get a blessing, you can go there through this practice that I'm offering you to explore, and then confirm for yourself whether or not this was a dream from him, what the dream meant, what does he want, and that allows you to add a question answering practice to the relationship, where you would otherwise just talk to them directly. You don't have voice boxes and mouths to have that communication, but you do have a way to energetically interpret what you're feeling and hearing to confirm the details of what you think you're feeling and hearing. And she tried that, of course, with my training and all of that. We did lots of training in that, but we did it. And the things that when I was at her house and I told her things he was saying, things he was asking about, she was overwhelmed with how many things I was telling her were from him, that confirmed to her that she said, that's my son. Like, that's who, that he's here. Like, if you heard that, that's my son. Like,
so wait a minute. When you were there and you went to do your divination with her at her altar or shrine or whatever she had for her son.
Yep.
What came through you, she knew that her child had to be talking.
Yes, she confirmed that. I didn't. I would say what I hear, and she was
because you didn't know him. You just was hearing what you heard.
Because that's my experience. My experience is I hear, right? So I said, I asked her about the personality of her son, the kind of energy that he had, because he seemed very, he seemed like a classic young Black Baltimore guy, very fiery, very creative, very attitudey, very spicy, but he liked nice things, I said your son like nice things. He's got expensive taste. She said yes, so a lot of things. I said I don't know what you want to do, but there are certain foods I thought he was asking what. She was like, yeah, I would usually bake that for him special. He would ask me for that. I don't really like making it, but if he's asking for it, she said, I'll make it. So what I'm saying is to say that she confirmed all the things that I was hearing and seeing as her son being there. And that was enough of an encouragement for her to do it herself. I'm like, I don't know your son. If you're saying this is your son, then we accomplished the goal by letting you know that he is here without his body, but you know through this experience that he's present. And that gave her someplace else to put her grief. So it gave her a real place, literal place.
A literal place to place her grief, because now
transform her grief, transmute her grief.
Yeah, because she knew now that she could still have this relationship.
Yes.
But the question is, if you're not present, how does the relationship continue?
Since I helped her make the connection to know unequivocally that he was present, and all we did was call him there, right? There's a process that we used to call him there. He came, she confirmed that he was there. Now, when I'm not present, she can do the same things that I taught her how to do, and then with the divination tools, confirm that he's there, and then ask the questions that she needs, the yes or no questions, and she'll get the yes or no answers. But she did not question that he would come if she called him. Because that's his mother. If I can say, so and so, come so that your mother can give you this food, or she can play your music for you, or she can have a party for you, or get your stuff. If I say that and I'm a stranger, she's like, if I play this music, if I bring him this food, if I get him, this whatever cake or whatever he likes, she said he'll be here. I said exactly. Like you know how to get your son's attention. She was like, she said, I don't have a problem with getting my son's attention. She just wanted to know that she could reach him. So I just established that he would come, and past their relationship is none of my business, because she understands that the connection hasn't gone anywhere. Of course, she continued to grieve the physical loss of her son. She didn't stop grieving that, but she did report that she was grieving less, and that she was more productive, more constructive in her remembrances of him. And also what helped her was, because he died tragically, I was able to confirm for her that he did not want her to pursue this matter. He said, I'm done with this.
I'm good.
Don't pursue it. Unnecessary. Right? Now, he said lots of other things that were very concerning that matter, that were very spirit-like things to say. You know what I mean? Let me explain. When I say spirit-like things, I mean spirits. When you're out of the body, you have a tendency. Spirit, in my experience, has a tendency to be real direct about. They don't have the same tact that they had when they were in the body, right? Because they're like, look, this is what it is. I don't care about that. And as a matter of fact, this is they tell you things. I'm like, all right. So here I am hearing it, and I'm like, that part of the story she may not need to have right now, because she's still grieving, and that's going to got more questions. So if you want to tell her that, I'm not saying don't tell her that, because the Spirit's telling me what really was the situation concerning his passing, right? And I'm like, she didn't ask me. Now, if she asked me, I would have told her. But because I don't not tell people stuff when they ask me. But sometimes Spirit will tell me something directly, and I'm like, that's for me. That's between me and you, unless she asks me. Or you could tell her and then kind of get her, because sometimes those things the Spirit say really counter what we believe. For example,
question first. If you're saying Spirit is saying something, why can't we hear it? Why can't we understand that we're being talked to or being accessed?
I think there's a certain resistance that people have to hearing anything from Spirit. There's a certain resistance because they have they're going with the conditioning, and they just like, well, they can't talk to me, so that means they're not talking to me. You know what I mean? So that's
dead. There's no way a dead person is talking to me, because again, we're associating dead as final.
Yes. Well, that's why that's why some people don't hear. I'm a person that doesn't want to see anything. I'm like, I don't need to be, you don't got to show me anything. I don't want to see faces. That freaks me out. I prefer not to see faces. I was like, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me. You can show me stuff. You can point a hand, whatever. I don't need to see no faces. That's too much for me. You know what I mean? And this is what I do. But I got my own limits. You know what I mean? I'm like, yes, I know you want to show me. Just point to what we look at. I don't need all of that. So we all have our unwillingness or our resistances to certain interactions with Spirit for whatever reason. I can't really say. But they honor that, if you ask. Most of the time. They'll honor that, and they'll just say, all right, this is too much. I won't come be in her face like this. I'll just tell her, or I'll just tap her on the shoulder, or I'll, they like I said, they kind of lose their tact because they're no longer burdened by the body. So they're like, woohoo! Not only can I come, but they hear me. They, you know what I mean? I'm like, whoa, slow down. You're doing a little bit too. You're
They're
doing a little bit
actually
too much.
very free. They're free.
They're free, so they
Yeah.
want to do all the things. And they're very, very. And you sometimes they're very anxious. Not all the time, but sometimes, especially if they're young entities, real anxious and all that. Just like there's a spectrum of personalities, for lack of a better word, spectrum of energies, just like people in the body. They not really that different. You know what I mean? To be very frank, they're not really that different. So a person out of the body is act the same as they did, have the same vibe, same energy that it did in the body.
Yeah.
And your hearing or not hearing or seeing or not seeing usually has something to do with your own level of willingness to hear and see. But even if you don't hear or see and you're willing, you just don't, that may not be your gift. Your gift may be just the science of the divination practice. Yet, look, do you mean that? Yes. Do you mean that? No. You know, and that makes up for the scholarship around the divination practice, makes up for the lack of, quote, spiritual gifts that you have to see or hear or whatever. There's a way. There's a way to confirm. I am a scientist, so I like confirming. I'm big on confirming because I want people to be secure and strong in their relationships. And you can't have a secure and strong relationship if you can't communicate. So for me, divination or the question answering practices that are available to us through tradition allow us to build confidence in a relationship because we can confirm what we're hearing. And that gives us the knowing and the security that the relationship is continuing in a positive way.
Okay. So I'm hearing, wow, this is a lot. I've downloaded and I'm downloading and I'm downloading because folks go, coming from a place where I know so many people who need to heal because of grief.
Yes.
Their life has started because of grief and guilt. A lot of times people are grieving so hard and a lot of it comes from the guilt. If I was there, they make up stories. They make up, oh, if I was there, that wouldn't have happened. Or this, if I didn't ask, you don't know. But if you were to set up a space for that spirit and talk to them, they might say, this is supposed to happen. I'm fine where I am. But in our conditioning, we don't have relationships outside of the body. That's some ghost. That's something scary. So, I mean, even me, this is a lot to digest.
Sure.
I would love to have a relationship with my father. I was young when he died. So as a grown woman, I would want to, I just got out of college. He died the same year that I graduated.
Oh, wow.
So I've never been able to experience my father as a developed woman, because you're in college, you're a child. I've never experienced him as a developed woman. And just to say thank you, as a grown up now, I appreciate what you did. I see it. I didn't see it then. The sacrifice and I grew up with my dad and my mom. And my mom would definitely, it would help her. And she lost her son, and she still talks about, she lost her mother when she was 12. And and her father by 16, she grew up with no parents.
That's a lot.
A lot. And she's 80 years old, and today she still talks about it.
Wow.
Because it still rules her life and rules her being. So I know from just my own personal experience, being transparent, that in my own family, and I see people who are that I talk to all the time who are guilt ridden, who can't get past death.
And to be very honest, even with ancestral work, divination practice, people to confirm, some people resist believing the truth about the situation that they are holding on to when the spirit does confirm what really happened. That, again, is the reason why we started off this series talking about the who you're being.
Who you're being, your power.
Because if this same lady I'm talking about said, what else? Tell me if he said anything about what happened concerning this. What was the situation concerning it? And if she wanted to know that, then I would have said, well, really, he's saying, according to your son, this was an arrangement that he made prior to even getting into this incarnation. This was somebody that he knew, and this is how they were both going to exit. This is how he was going to exit. They made this arrangement prior to him even coming. So he was never going to be here till he was 80, 90 years old. He just wanted to go out in a blaze of glory. So this is just how that went down.
I knew that blew her mind.
This is not something I'm gonna just, well, as a matter of fact, there's no reason for you to grieve because no, because now we're dealing with spirits and their experience in the realm
past covenants, like past covenants that spirits make.
Yes,
because one thing we have to kind of define is this is a path and there are other paths that after, because it's hard for me to even understand that this is an incarnation and that it's more to come, even after death in this body. Right?
It's available in terms of relationships. Yes, there's more to come. I personally believe that we come here to expand our consciousness as spiritual beings through the human experience. Okay, that's my personal belief. The whole, what is it all for? Why are we here?
Why are we here?
Why? I would say we come here to expand the countenance of our spiritual nature through the human experience. Okay. Now, what we choose, what experiences we need to do that clearly runs a spectrum. But we don't all die in our sleep at 95 to do that. Some of us only need the birth experience and then we go right back.
Wow.
Some of us come because we want to just blaze and have a good time and, go out with a bang. All I cannot tell you why that's the case. I can just tell you that it is the case. When you're working with spirits, you find out all kinds of reasons and all kinds of stuff that they're experiencing.
So download. Wait a minute. Download.
So I don't question spirits. So I'm just like, that's what it is. Okay.
That's a whole new movement.
That's a whole nother series.
That's a whole nother thing because folk cannot believe this is pre-prescribed. Like this is what you're seeing is not an accident. This is supposed to happen. But then people said, but how can this accident with this nurse and she killed these 6 people? She rammed her Mercedes in and killed people. So people said, well, that's why I'm supposed to go. So you're saying that could have been a past covenant and they all were supposed to move on.
I cannot say if that was the situation with that particular.
Okay.
I can't say that was true for that particular situation. But I can say that what I'm describing is absolutely true in some cases. And I do also, traditionally speaking, it's possible to, from the Yoruba perspective, it is possible to be taken before your time by death, which is why we do work to make sure that we don't go before our time. They say, in our tradition, we say that death comes for you 3 times. But at the 3rd time, you gotta go. You can't. There's no more bargaining. But the first 2 times, you may slip in the bathtub. You know what I mean? You don't want to die over something haphazard. But if death comes for you 3 times, you're like, oh, okay. Because in that way, we're supposed. I think that those ideas in the Yoruba tradition are there to help people prepare, be resolved around passing when it actually is time,
because you're gonna die.
Yes, because you're gonna die. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
So we could say if you had a health issue, well, you didn't die from, death was over you, but you didn't die then. You had more time. Well, you fell off your bike when you was 10. You know what I mean? You could have hit your head on a rock. You didn't die. Death was around you, but they're like, oh, nope. You had this agreement with that's not to take you before your time. So you 80 years old now. Come on. I'm coming for you. You have a heart attack. It's time to go. I didn't take you the first and second time. I'm taking you now. So every tradition has its way to try and help people deal with the reality of their transition. The reality that at some point they're not going to be in their body. Let me put my light on here. Not going to be in their body. They're going to have to make a move. So it's a conditioning. It's tradition. All traditions do it. Try to, even in Christianity, they say you're going home, you're going to go to heaven, you're going to be with God. Jesus is going to come and retrieve all of his faithful. We have everything does something to try and help you.
What Christianity says, you're going to rise up. All these bodies are going to rise up and go to the judgment.
We all got a story.
And God's going to read your book.
Yes.
And you're going to go to hell or heaven. So that's why we live here. But what I'm hearing is this path really has different levels.
It's not
journeys.
It does. Every spiritual being has its own journey. So what this tradition has taught me, because I was raised in an AME church, like I said first, you know what I mean? What this tradition has taught me is making my life. Okay, that's good. Got my real light on. I live in an off-grid house, y'all. So y'all, this is what it is. So
that's a whole nother joint. Y'all don't know about no off the grid.
Yeah, we gonna do a whole nother thing. So what this tradition has taught me is in working with spirits directly, I get to hear what their story is about their passing. So beyond the big story that we have that I just said about, death coming for you 3 times, you got to go the 3rd time. Beyond that's like the blanket. We all know death gonna come for us at some point. I'm saying that because I work with ancestral spirits all the time, every day, sometimes they want to tell me what the situation was surrounding their passing. And that has assisted me in reconfiguring my acceptance and experience of death. My father, who I adored, I worshiped him, passed away. And before he passed away, I went to visit him in the hospital. And I said, I got to go out the country for a little while. I said, but I'll be back. I said, if you don't wait for me, you let me know what you want and I'll do it. You know what I mean? You know how we go, because he was a priest also. I said, if you don't wait for I want you to wait for me to come back so that I can greet you and all that and be with you. But if you don't wait, if you can't wait for me, because if you want to leave before I get back, let me salute you now, right? And whatever you want me to know, you tell me, and I will do it. I will talk to my sisters. I'll give them your messages. I'll do whatever it is that you wish. If you want, some nutter butter, peanut butter cookies, I'm gonna get them for you. You know what I mean? You want some curry chicken? I got you. Whatever you want, you let me know. You want me to play John Coltrane for you at dawn, in the morning? I'm gonna do that. Because we already know how we go. So I will just say goodbye to you now. I love you. And I'll speak to you as soon as you're ready. Now, because I had that relationship with him, because we both practice the same tradition, we both have the same understanding of death and ancestors, we both know that when he passes, he's just going to come here to the shrine. I have a whole room for my father. Whole ancestral room in my shrine house. So whatever he wants, I was like, I'm going to do it. Yes, I miss you. Yes, I miss your voice, big bellowy Leo lion voice. I miss hugging him because that's I was hearing his heavy footsteps. Lion footsteps. I miss that, but I don't miss it so much that I feel like he's not here. Because when he wants something, he lets me know. I do it just like I would have been obedient and do it when he was living. And that part of our relationship has continued.
So,
I just needed to make the shift to that. I can't just hug my daddy. You know what I mean? Can't kiss him.
And definitely you want to, but a person would say, well, why would I get them food? They're not going, it's going to rot.
He does not eat the food that I put out for him. I just know he likes it. And so the energy of that food, because he's now an energy being only, he can enjoy the energy of that thing. He can be at one with the energy of that, just like you at one with your food as soon as you chew it and swallow it.
You better know I am.
That food you eat, you are what you eat, is a literal statement, not figurative. You are the sum total of all the cheeseburgers, collard greens, fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, but you don't look like a buffet of food walking around. You got that beautiful brown skin. You got that hair. That's what that food turned into, because energetically, calories, energy turned into you looking like that. So in spirit, there is also a kind of consumption, just like physical consumption of things, there's an energetic consumption of things. And in that way, he receives the energy of that. Completely practical when you think of the science of food in terms of energy and your relationship with food as an energy being and a physical being.
I love that. I asked that because that's what people say. Why are you buying food? And why, because you're pouring liquor on the ground and the person ain't going to drink it off the ground. You pouring out something that they like. It's energy of it. And so, because we do it all the time. It's like, I'm going to leave this right here because I know Mama love this. We're going to leave this here and I'm going to keep these earrings because there's, it's all these things that we attribute to our peoples.
And, and about the food thing, that's important because, about how Black people are about food.
Oh,
there has been many, and I would like somebody to try and challenge us on this. There has been many a Christian household I have gone to on a Thanksgiving or Easter or a Christmas or something where a plate of food is made, a full plate setting at a table for an elder who is no longer there but would be there if they could. And that plate is made at the head of the table or wherever that person would be sitting, and ain't nobody messing with that food until dinner is over, because they are making a place. They are saying, I want to make a place in my house at this event. This is a family event. This is a family reunion. Let's make a plate for Granddaddy and put it by his chair. I have been to many Christian homes where I've seen that. I'm
like, they leave a space for them. That's their seat. That's
and
what
I say to myself, I tell myself, look, Keturah, don't say nothing, because they doing that stuff. Yeah. But don't say nothing, because this is their practice. This is the way they venerate and honor their ancestor in the home. And traditionally, that's what we do. When our ancestors passed, traditionally, we buried them in the house, on the compound, in the house. And then we put a mat on top of that, and then we put food right on there. Like, you want to talk to your father, go, okay, he over there. Go talk.
Wow. So this is, guys, this is not anything new. It might sound bigger than what you can digest. Take your time, because remember,
step by step, we went through the steps.
You got to live in power. You got to think in power. You got to live in power, and you got to be powerful to understand that there's something else.
Yes. And it is your birthright to access these spiritual resources, because that is where your power is.
That's where your power is.
Your power is in the strength of your lineage. Your countenance didn't come from just you. It came from what has been built up over time through your generations, which is why you venerate your ancestors. You honor your elders. That's why you got family reunions. That's why you say there's strength in numbers, because you know that you're not just you all by yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and even if it's not your elder, it could be your child, it could be someone young, but they're moved on to a different realm, and you can have that relationship. Now, the process is your mindset and how powerful you are to understand that the relationships you had is not going to be the same relationship. It will be a different relationship, but it still will be a relationship.
Yes. Your relationship will continue, but the dynamic will change.
The dynamic will change. And that's the hard thing for people, because that is why it's so easy to acculturate people that is final. That this is it once you die, because you really don't have the physicality, and that's all we know. We only know we can see and touch and talk to. We don't know something that we can have a relationship outside.
Until we have those special experiences that where we imply that we know there's something else, but we're not saying much about it. We're just saying, I had a dream, I had an experience, and people are co-signing. They say, oh, that was your mama. Or, look, let me just say that when Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, I was mad about it. But when I found out that Buster Douglas' mama had passed recently, I was like, oh, that's how he won.
She knocked Mike out.
She knocked Mike out.
All day.
Because otherwise, Buster Douglas would have gone down. Buster Douglas was not a better fighter than Mike Tyson.
Yeah, you're not messing with my baby.
But exactly, he was like, "That's not. You're not about to be my baby. My baby need this money, so
I'm gonna get it.
So I would get it. So I was like, I yield. I stopped talking trash about Buster Douglas after I found out his mama died, because I was like, she won that fight for him. She know he needed that fight. She just went ahead on it for him.
That's someone who has information, though. You know, what you're saying now, you had information. And listen, we're an hour and 16 minutes in. I know it don't seem like it. But because I'm trying to because we gotta heal. And part of healing is understanding, no, we don't need to continue violence in our communities. No, we don't need the deprivation in our communities. No, we don't need the things that we see going on, the contention in our communities. But
the vendettas are useless, and sometimes they're completely inappropriate. They're just to validate your ego. They're not satisfying the entity that's
exactly. So, but what we do need to know, that if there is something that comes to your family or someone transitions, as we all will, that whoever is transitioning, you can transition a relationship and still relate.
Yes, you can continue the relationship. Yes.
Continue to and that would help you get past the physicality of the loss.
That is a redirection, a transmuting of your grief.
Yep. That's it.
It's possible. Now, you ain't got to do it. But if you don't, it truly is a missed opportunity.
Wow. So
you don't got to do nothing but stay black and die. You ain't got to do it. But if you did it,
that's all, because people be like, I ain't doing that. That's crazy.
All right, listen, many people don't, and it does not ruin their life for them not to do it. But it is a missed opportunity.
It's a missed opportunity, and you must know that. So we're trying to heal in August. We're healing in the 8th. So listen, part 1, power. Who are you? What are you being? Are you living in power? Are you giving it away, or are you being powerful?
Yes.
That's part 1. We're closing down part 2. Is having the relationship, that the true access to the ancestor, that there's a way. And this is Iya's work. So this is
a part of being in your power. A part of being in your power is accessing your power resources. Your principal power resource as a person in power are your spiritual resources. And your spiritual resources begin with your ancestors. They are your first line of defense against anything else. They are your first line or first order of business in terms of spiritual culture. They are at the foundation of every religion, period.
Wow. I had my friend say to me that she more or less said that you shouldn't have a relationship with your ancestors because they should be setting up and fighting for you. But if they're too busy relating with you, then they're not in a realm of keeping you, fighting for you, making space for you. What do you say about that?
I think that person has a very contracted understanding of spirit's capabilities. Okay. So when in the physical, when you're thinking of things from a physical construct, you
Uh-huh.
have a lot of limitations, a lot of boundaries, right? There's places you can't go, there's things you can't do. You can't walk through a door. You got to open the door, you know? So your friend may have a limited view of what spirit is capable of. Now, there is one thing to consider though, that your friend may understand, and that is not all entities have the same capabilities, right? They don't.
Right. This
Some
is
of
a very
them,
conscious person now. Very conscious person.
some of them have limited abilities. Some of them don't have the same type of countenance or ashe to be able to do the things that we're talking about. So
Yeah.
your friend is not completely wrong, but she's speaking to those entities that can't. There are some entities that can. And here's the thing. If you want, when you're in a relationship with these entities and they find out what they can't do, they say, make it so that I can do it. Help me. So how we there are things that we can do to elevate them, to support them, to advance their spiritual tools, capabilities here, so that they can be more helpful, right? Because because in our tradition, there is a distinction. We make a distinction between ancestors, which meaning you just passed away, and egungun, which means you're an elevated ancestor, that you have the ashe. You've cultivated the spiritual power in your life. You carrying that into your next, the iteration of yourself, and you have the quote ashe, or the spiritual power or countenance or energy to move tools to divine, to protect your loved ones. Not all entities have cultivated that level of power. Mm-mm. So some of them can, some of them can't. The ones that can't, that want it, because I bet those too, the ones that can't, that want to be elevated, that want to do more, need somebody like me to come and assist their loved one with giving them the extra spiritual tools that they have yet to cultivate, that we can assist them with, so that they can be more of a useful support in their living family member's life. That's very real.
Because you said you're not supposed to have a relationship with your ancestor. Let them go.
Like I said, you don't have to do nothing but stay black and die. They will do what they can do for you in your total ignorance. They will do what they can. But I say it is a missed opportunity not to access your spiritual resources as a person in power, because they could do so much more if you were in alignment with that relationship. They will do for you regardless, but they can do a lot more if you were on board.
All right. We got to cut it off here. This has been amazing. Next week we're gonna close the series out, and also, I'm gonna put a peel out. If you really want to kind of delve into your relationship, maybe one or two people that we can talk to and actually delve into their relationship with their spiritual, with their ancestor, and in a way that you can see it, that it can be something that is possible, is feasible, because a lot of times we don't believe it till we see it. So, hit us up at BlakBoxxRadio.com. I mean, at gmail.com. That email. Holla at me. You can come on with us. You can talk to Iya and try to, we want to heal. This is about healing. But you still would have to go deal with her with the work, because it's a process. But we definitely would love to have a little simulation of what we're talking about. But more than that, we got so much to talk about. I mean, we just keep going. We could keep this conversation going because it's so powerful. You got to be powerful, live in power, but you need your first line of defense is your spirit, your connection with your ancestor, your spiritual resource. That's what this was about tonight.
Yes. Accessing your spiritual resources as a person in power, because this is where your power is. Your power is spiritual power. What other kind of power you think you got that ain't spiritual power? You have no power without spiritual power.
No power?
You don't have any power before you have spiritual power. Your spiritual power makes all other power possible.
Whoa.
What you gonna what type of power do you have when you rich and you ain't in your body?
Oh, it's a lot of them.
Not much. That's So first things first, spiritual power, and all other things come after that.
So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit next week. It's after you.
Oh, I should say that I'm having an ancestral celebration event next Sunday at the Why Not Lot, corner of North and Charles, in cooperation with Creative Alliance, to invite the spirits of Baltimore City to come and be celebrated and get some healing. We are invited. We're going to go to the cemetery and have a procession. We're going to play drums and give offerings at the Green Mountain Cemetery, and invite the spirits of that cemetery to come to the Why Not Lot and be celebrated, because North Avenue spirits, people on North Avenue, are in the struggle. And we realize that part of that struggle is a spiritual struggle, an energetic struggle. We want to elevate the energy there. We want to celebrate those entities and help to begin to transmute and transform some of the darkness that's there. Try to lighten it up a bit. So if you want to celebrate your ancestors, come on out. It's going to start at 3:00. Why Not Lot, next Sunday, August 21st.
I love it. Listen, y'all got to come out to that. Green Mountain Cemetery, is that the one on Green Mountain and North?
Yeah.
Because that's where the sinkhole is,
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we're gonna open up the way with Papa Legba at the crossroads at Green Mount and North Avenue. Then we're gonna dance and sing and on down to the entrance of the cemetery. We're gonna give offer flowers and offerings, prayers, and then we're gonna invite those ancestors to come on with us, a procession up to the Why Not Lot, and then we're gonna do a proper celebration of them. And in that, if you're interested in seeing what exactly you could do in your own home to celebrate them, I'm going to be doing a teaching session showing a basic shrine of how to create a place in your home, basic just for remembrance and meditation, not divination, but just so that the spirits that guard you that you love they have a place. So I'll be going over that 3:00.
So that's free. 3:00 at the Green Mountain Cemetery first?
No, 3:00 at Why Not Lot. At the cemetery procession is gonna be at 2.
At 2.
But the celebration at the Why Not Lot is gonna be at 3:00. So if you are interested in knowing some things for free, that's the free joint. You want to go to that. Because you call me, you're gonna have to pay me. You have to pay me. So I'm giving you the 411 on the free joint.
This
so
free
you
game.
Get on that.
Absolutely. Free game Sunday, 3:00 at the Why Not Lot, venerating your ancestors, and she will do some teaching on a private shrine, and you can get some free tools of the things we're talking about. Spirituality is key for your power. And if you want to create this power palette, you need to develop your spiritual connections. It is what is it? Yeah, you said is your God-given.
It is your birthright.
It is your birthright. Absolutely.
Yes.
It is the birthright of the African to.
Yes. It's a birthright of all people, all entities, but certainly there is no African person on this planet that would deny that their power resides in spirit.
Wow. All right. That is it, guys. We have had a power part 2. We had a powerful part 1. And when we come and hit you next Tuesday, the last part of the series, I promise you'll be empowered. Come through. Come see us. We so appreciate you guys. We are boxed up and out. Can we get them deuces? We out. All right, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Power to the people. Don't go nowhere, Iya.
Okay.
Power to the people.